everybody. Welcome back to 5 Easy Questions, where we break down the stock market for new investors. Today, we're talking to the CEO of Plurilock, Ian Paterson. This company is the global leader in advanced frictionless authentication. I'm not going to pretend I know what that means or try to explain it, but this brings me to my first question for Ian. What exactly is frictionless security?
So great question, Maddy. Friction in a security context is the idea that when you put up barriers to try and protect the business, you are by definition creating friction for the end users, for the employees to get through the day. So think about every time you have to log into a system. You're stopping work. You're stopping people from being able to just get the thing done that they want to do, and you're creating friction for that person. And there's this dichotomy where the more friction you create, probably the more secure the system is going to be, but it's harder and harder for the employees to actually do their jobs and get it done. So the idea behind frictionless authentication is, can you somehow create an environment where you're providing a more secure work area, but you're also removing the friction from that employee's day? So you're trying to meet both the security team's needs as well as the end user's needs. And that's fundamentally what we're trying to do.
Okay, this is probably me being naive because I'm an absolute spaz with tech stuff. Is that like, you know, the little colorful circle that spins when things are, is that what you mean when you speak about friction?
Well, think about if you're logging into a system to do a large wire transfer, right? That's obviously a very sensitive system. You want to make sure that it's only the right people who are going to send $5 million at a time. So you kind of want friction. You kind of want to make sure that, yeah, look, we're only going to let in the right people to that system. But what we're trying to do at Plurilock is we're actually using human behavior as kind of a key to get through that prompt, that login prompt. And so in other words, from the user's perspective, if I'm just behaving normally, in theory, the system should just let me in. It shouldn't ask me for the additional password or my mother's maiden name or find all the street signs in the picture, right? Again, we want to be able to remove that friction because we have high trust that it's in fact the right person on that device, and therefore they don't have to jump through those hoops. They don't have to get through that friction experience.
That makes a lot of sense. And I hate those little train, like pick the train or car things. So that's great. Are your products foolproof?
No, and in fact, there is no product that is foolproof, especially when it comes to security. There's a great analogy here in the physical security world. Of course, Plurilock, we're selling software, but if you think about traditional locks or safes in the real world, in the physical world, those products are also not foolproof. And in fact, a lot of times they're measured in terms of how long would it take an attacker to get in. That's really what differentiates a really, really secure safe from maybe a cheaper safe that's more consumer oriented. Similarly, in software, there's no single magic bullet that's going to keep any organization secure. And in fact, the statistic is that most enterprises have on average 120 security vendors that they have to work with. So think about that. I mean, that means that there's over 120 products and services that vendor is working with in order to stay safe. Now, crucially, the ability to then work with those products, pull them together into something that reduces all of your risk or minimizes as much risk as possible, that's really the goal. And security, like many practices, is ultimately a journey. It's not a destination, right? Because you have bad guys on the other side who are incentivized to try and find a way around it. And so just when you think that you've got everything nailed, you know, you hear about some other attack, like the Colonial Pipeline attack or the Kaseya attack, and you realize, oh shoot, now I need to go figure out how to address a supply chain attack. So security really it's better thought of in terms of how do we minimize the most amount of risk possible, while also, again, letting the business operate. You know, going back to that first question, we need to still let the business operate and do the thing that it needs to do, but do so in a way that minimizes as much risk as possible.
Okay, that leads us into my third question very well. How expensive is the software and who buys it?
So Plurilock has two parts of our business. We have a solutions division where we resell products and services, and we also provide some services. And then we have a technology division where we build and market our own patented AI cybersecurity software. So I'll speak predominantly about the technology division. We have two products that we own. It's called Plurilock Adapt and Plurilock Defend. Both of these products are software, and we use behavior as a form of authentication. The analogy that I like to use to explain those products is Plurilock Adapt is equivalent to, think of a house. Most people have a front door. Most people have a deadbolt on that front door. Plurilock Adapt is like a deadbolt. It provides that initial authentication when you're trying to get into the house, or in our case, trying to get into a system. Plurilock Defend is kind of like a motion sensor inside your house that can tell the difference between if it's you who's in the house or if it's an unauthorized intruder based purely on your movements. Wow. And if we detect that it's an intruder, we can call the homeowner, we can call the police, we can lock or unlock the rest of the doors throughout the house. So that's a physical analogy to the software products where we're doing continuous authentication. Those two products, Plurilock Adapt, the MSRP, the manufactured suggested retail price, is $3 per user per month. And then Plurilock Defend is MSRP'd at $9 per user per month. And then, of course, because we sell these to businesses and other large organizations, it's pretty standard for there to be things like volume pricing and that sort of thing. So generally speaking, we're charging on a per user per month basis, and we're targeting kind of that mid-market and above in terms of customers that we're going after.
Do you ever recommend that people get both the Adapt and Defend? Because I feel like I'd want both for my physical home.
Very possible. Yeah, very possible. And again, it really comes down to what is the risk that we're trying to protect against. And so you're absolutely right. It could be that, in some case, we do need both because there's a front door risk and then there's also an inside the house risk, again, following with that house analogy.
Right. Do you think that you'll be developing a product for the general public? Because you just kind of said you work mainly with businesses right now.
So it's a great point, and certainly it's something that we hear pretty regularly. There seems to be a lot of demand here for kind of a consumer offering. Yeah, well, I mean, part of the great thing about cybersecurity, just as an industry, is that there is so much. Unfortunately, there are so many risks out there that there are a lot of ways that we can expand. So some of the expansion opportunities that we see in the future could certainly be going down market, going to more of an SMB, small business level, also going to a consumer level. Absolutely, that would increase the addressable market we could go after. We could also move to the left or to the right of where we are right now. So we're focused on identity threats right now, but certainly we could go into, we could launch a product around cloud security, right? Cloud, of course, has been growing dramatically over the last 5 to 10 years. It certainly looks like it's going to continue to grow. And so that represents an additional adjacent market space that we could enter. We could also go further international. We did just announce a large financial institution signed up for our Plurilock Defend product. That was a 3-year contract valued at over $650,000. And certainly that's potentially representative of other international customers that we could go after. So part of the excitement that the team has here at Plurilock is that there are multiple ways that we could continue to grow. We could go into those adjacent markets. We could go down market. We could also go international. And so all of these are possible, and it's an exciting space to be in right now.
Okay, with everything you've just said, my last question might be a little bit redundant. What would you tell a potential investor?
Well, I think the big thing is, do you already have access to something in cybersecurity? I think that cybersecurity, just as an industry, from my perspective, I see statistics all the time, like that this cyber industry is estimated to be $1 trillion in spending over a 5-year cumulative period. Even just the identity and access management space is estimated to be an $8 billion market on its own. So really, like any way you slice it, cybersecurity just is really, really important to our everyday lives. And I think that we saw that earlier this year with, again, the Colonial Pipeline attack, where a ransomware attack actually prevented people from filling their cars up with gas. Sure, this started as a cyber issue, but it ended up being, very, very relevant to the everyday consumer. And so I think what we're starting to see in the news more and more is that the impact of cybersecurity on all different industries and all different walks of life is becoming so apparent. And so if you care about critical infrastructure, if you care about food security, if you care about all these different industries, actually you care about cybersecurity. And then therefore, if that's the case, do you have access to cybersecurity as an investment? And so that would be the key question that I would pose to an investor. And hopefully that spurs a conversation.
Right. That makes a ton of sense. When I first started this job, one of my coworkers told me, like, basics of investing, invest in what you use. And everyone's life now, I feel like, is here via Zoom and on the computer. So
exactly,
boundless. Okay. And where would people go to find more information on Plurilock?
Plurilock.com, and there's a great investor section. There's been a number of presentations that we've done and media interviews that we've done as well, and so you can find all of those there. And then if you're looking for more real-time updates, there is an investor newsletter that you can sign up for and get up-to-the-minute updates of everything we're doing here at the company.
Wow, look at that. Perfect. Thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully I get to talk to you again in the future.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Maddy. We'll talk again soon.